Hello, everyone. This is the dude with story time. I'm just gonna get right into it. It's raining over here in Manhattan, so just read a little story in the meantime. It's called Bill's Little Girl by Zona Gale. Zona Gale. It's right backwards for you guys, but whatever. You guys get the gist. So it reads. Bill was 30 when his wife died, and little Minna was 4. Bill's carpenter shop was in the yard of his house, so he thought that he could keep up his home for Minna and himself. All day while he worked at his bench, she played in the yard, and when he was obliged to be absent for a few hours, the woman next door looked after her. Bill could cook a little, coffee and bacon and fried potatoes and flapjacks, and he found bananas and sardines and crackers useful. When the woman next door said this was not the diet for 4-year-olds, he asked her to teach him to cook oatmeal and vegetables, and thought he always burned the dishes in which he cooked these things. He cooked them every day. He swept all but the corners, and he dusted, dabbed at every object, and he complained that after he had cleaned the windows he could not see out as well as he could before. He washed and patched Mina's little garments and mended her doll. He found a kitten for her so that she wouldn't be lonely. At night he heard her say her prayer, kneeling in the middle of the floor with her hands folded and speaking like lightning. If he forgot the prayer, he either woke her up or else he made her say it the first thing next morning. He himself used to try to pray, "Lord, make me do the right by her if you see me doing wrong." On Sundays he took her to church and sat listening with his head on one side, trying to understand and giving Minna peppermints when she rustled. He stopped work for a day and took her to the Sunday school picnic. Her mother would have, he explained. When Minna was old enough to go to kindergarten, Bill used to take her to morning or afternoon, and he would call for her. Once he dressed himself in his best clothes and went to visit the school. "I think her mother would have," he told the teacher, diffidently. But he could make little of the colored paper and designs and the games, and he did not go again. "There are some things I can't be any help to her with," he thought. Minna was 6 when Bill fell ill. On a May afternoon, he went to a doctor. When he came home, he sat in his shop for a long time and did nothing. The sun was beaming through the window in bright squares. He was not going to get well. It might be that he had 6 months. He could hear Minna singing to her doll. When she came to kiss him that night, he made an excuse, for he must never kiss her now. He held her at arm's length, looked her in her eyes, and said, "Minna's a big girl now. She doesn't want Papa to kiss her." But her lip curled and she turned away sorrowfully. So the next day Bill went to another doctor to make sure. The other doctor made him sure. He tried to think what to do. He had a sister in Nebraska, but she was a tired woman. His wife had a brother in the city, but he was a man of many words. And little Minna, there were things known to her which he himself did not know. Matters of fairies and the words of songs. He wished that he could hear of somebody who would understand her, and he had only 6 months. Then the woman next door told him bluntly that he ought not to have the child there, and him coughing as he was, and he knew that the decision was already upon him. One whole night he thought that then he advertised in a city paper, "A man with a few months to live would like nice people to adopt his little girl. 6, blue eyes, curls, references required." They came in a limousine, as he had hoped they would come. Their clothes were as he had hoped. They had with them a little girl who cried, "Is this my little sister?" On which the woman in the smart frock said sharply, "Now then, you do as Mama tells you and keep out of this, or we'll leave you here and take this darling little girl away with us." So Bill looked at this woman and said steadily that he had now other plans for his little girl. He watched the great blue car roll away. "For the land's sake," said the woman next door when she heard, "you done her out of a fortune. You hadn't the right. A man in your health." And when other cars came and he let them go, this woman told her husband that Bill ought most certainly to be reported to the authorities. The man and woman who walked into Bill's shop one morning were still mourning their own little girl. The woman was not sad, only sorrowful. And the man who was tender of her was a carpenter. In a blooming of his hope and his dread, Bill said to them, "You're the ones." When they asked, "How long before we can have her?" Bill said, "1 day more." That day he spent in the shop. It was summer, and Minna was playing in the yard. He could hear the words of her songs. He cooked their supper, and while she ate, he watched. When he had tucked her in her bed, he stood in the dark hearing her breathing. "I'm a little girl tonight. Kiss me," she had said, but he shook his head. A big girl, he told her. When they came for her the next morning, he had her ready, and her little garments were ready, washed and mended, and he had mended her doll. "Minna's never been for a visit," he told her buoyantly, and when she ran toward him, a big girl, he reminded her. He stood and watched the man and woman walking down the street with Minna between them. They had brought her a little blue parasol in case the parting should be hard. This parasol Minna held bobbing above her head, and she was so absorbed in looking up at the blue silk that she did not remember to turn and wave her hand. There's also a poem that comes with the story by the name of Nancy Hanks. Is the name of the poem by Rosemary Benet. If Nancy Hanks comes back as a ghost, seeking news of what she loves most, she'd ask first, "Where's my son? What happened to Abe? What's he done?" Poor little Abe, left all alone, except for Tom, who's a rolling stone. He was only 9 the year I died. I remember still how hard he cried. Scraping along in a little shack with hardly a shirt to cover his back, and a prairie wind to blow him down, or pinching times if he went to town. You wouldn't know about my son. Did he grow tall? Did he have fun? Did he learn to read? Did he get to town? Did you know his name? Did he get on? And that does it for today's story, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to read another one, but I haven't gone forth and seen what they are. But I'd like to say I appreciate all book lovers, and hopefully, people get into books. And I don't know. God bless you all, and stay safe out there, people.